Okay, good morning. It's 7 o'clock, day 2 of the Summer Sleep Challenge with Coach Vic. We are live, hopefully, going live over here in our Facebook group soon. And give a couple seconds in case anybody wants to come on here. Just a quick, as we get started here, also for the replay, so there's not a lot of dead space. Anybody who's even on the replay, I would love to see, actually, if you're in Facebook, in our Facebook group, watching the replay, watching it later today, not even live, you can answer any of these questions in the comments if you'd like to, or you could let me know by responding or replying to the email that I send with the replay. And just kind of the recap of the day. You get that usually in the afternoon, sometimes earlier, depends if I have appointments immediately following. And good, so here we are, we're live over there. Sometimes earlier, depends if I have appointments immediately following. All right, here. Always good to turn the volume down. Okay, so today, also a reminder too about the questions. Anybody who has questions, at any point, you can reply to any of those emails and they'll come into my regular inbox and I'll see them. And I want to actually talk about one was more of a comment than a question, but I would like to address an email I got from a participant. And so this person actually has, so I wear an Oura Ring, so it gets to track my sleep and tell me how I do. I'm going to talk about some of these hacks today and how they benefit me for better sleep. But so she's got one of those really nice, expensive beds that tracks her sleep. And it tells her that she falls asleep usually within 6 minutes. And except for about 30 minutes of awake time, she's sleeping restfully. Now I know because this is in contact with my skin, I'm not sure how that bed works. I don't have the technology on it. But here, this gives me body temperature, heart rate, and my heart rate variability. And those things are critical to, and it tracks also my movement during the day, like my activity. If I don't log in a workout, it'll say, we had activity here, could you confirm this workout? And I do, and it's usually, so I'm not sure how that's working with the bed. I can tell you that probably the 30 minutes, she's probably sleeping soundly because otherwise it would be detecting movement. That would be, and this detects movement as well. So she said she wakes up once per night to go visit the little girl's room, but otherwise does no problem sleeping. These are her words. She has no trouble sleeping. She sleeps like the dead. So, but here, her complaint and her reason for joining, she shared, was that she would like to get to bed earlier, but she just can't seem to wind down to be able to get to bed earlier because some days she does have to get up. Not sure she's going to be here live today, but some days she does have to get up to do an online virtual class she does at home. She's very, very active. I know this woman, she's got a very healthy lifestyle. So, but this is the one thing she'd like to change. And every time I do see her, she comments about her sleep. So anyhow, let's address that. She gave me a few little hints here that I can comment on. She has a lot of activity in the evening time, activity that takes her up until 10 o'clock when she's eating a very light meal after all these activities. And I can tell you that's, if we're talking, which we're going to do today, talk about the circadian clock and the circadian rhythm, it's 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. If you want to be in harmony with Mother Nature and the universe, and that is how we are energetic beings, just like the universe is, and we need to be connected that way for ultimate health. So I did address a little bit yesterday in the morning routine about activity later in the day. I would caution her for that. Now, her activity I know is very important to her, so it's going to take some figuring out on how to make that be earlier in the day. But I can already tell you that those things, especially as we get older, we are going to be much more sensitive to either lights, heat, activity, all those things are going to keep our cortisol levels high. And if those are high, our melatonin has to be low. These two hormones do a dance that actually, it's like a seesaw. They can't both be up here. They both can't be down here. So when one is high, the other is low. And we control those with our lifestyle. And yeah, I'll just leave it, put a period there. So she's doing awesome stuff, but those are the ways I would tweak. It's mainly the activity. And because she seems to sleep restful, I don't know that the food is affecting her. It's just that she's not ready to be in bed. And maybe it's because, I mean, if I was eating dinner at 7 or 8 o'clock, it'd be very hard for me to be in bed by 10. As a matter of fact, last night I had a board meeting. On a volunteer organization here in my community, and we had a monthly board meeting, and I had to meet with our president and secretary afterwards for a little bit extra. And by the time I got home, I mean, it was still, I got home at 8:30-ish, just getting dark outside, it's summer, but it takes me lots longer to wind down and get to bed. I wasn't in bed by 10, I confess. It was probably 10:30, 10:45. I read a little bit to prepare for today, but those things affect me. So, and I still had to get up, 5:15 to prepare. So anyhow, that's my recommendation for this person who just seems to have a lot of her activity into the evening hours. She even indicated in her message to me that she thought she wasn't going to get her answer in this, but that is the answer. Truly, I can tell you with almost without doubt at all, or with absolute certainty that is it. And we do become more sensitive to it as we get older. So, but I can't, that's going to be a tough one. And I could certainly help with that if you want to reach out for that, solutions to that. Okay, so today we're going to talk about the sleep prep checklist and our evening routine. I have a few slides for you that will actually kind of, where are we here? I'm so sorry. Okay. That are going to kind of help me explain this prior to going into the sleep prep checklist. Okay, so, maybe you slept okay, maybe you didn't. I have had lots of, I don't know if all these people are on the challenge. I had about 20 people sign up, but I had lots of email messages, with interest in my promotions. And this was the lady who I showed the picture of promoting this program. Is this how you feel in the morning? And is this how you like to feel in the morning? I had comments from people who had issues only recently because they had a trauma, a concussion. Others that just have a chronic issue with sleep. So I had lots of different things, but I can tell you that what we're going to talk about in this graph right here is going to be the key to most people, and it might take a little more diving in to really assist, or your body might resist actually doing some certain things, but you just take it day by day, inch by inch. I mentioned that in the email, that if you just meet yourself where you're at, including that if you get off the path, even after you've achieved really good sleep, just be kind to yourself and say, and you'll have all these resources, and you'll say, I know exactly what to do now. So anyhow, let's talk about this, these two graphs. So the top graph is a perfect circadian rhythm, circadian clock. The bottom one is more about why that woman feels the way she feels in the morning, drinking her coffee, feeling and looking like that. So here's how this works. In the morning, 6 o'clock, if you're following the circadian clock, okay, and also let me explain that the black line is cortisol, the white line is melatonin. Okay, so, and remember, when one is high, the other has to be low. So 6 o'clock in the morning, as the sun is rising, in some areas of the world in the wintertime, of course, that never happens, or it happens later for us with our time change situation, but it starts to rise and it peaks at about 9 o'clock in the morning. So, and then we'll end up dropping in about 12 o'clock. We have our lunch, but things, you still have activity. You can still brain function here, right? But notice melatonin from 6 o'clock in the morning stays very, very low. Again, if you're in harmony with this circadian rhythm, about somewhere between 4 and 6 o'clock, this crossover happens again in a perfect world. And you notice in this area here, decelerating activity. Over here, it's winding down, dim the lights. And in this case, this person who I just shared the email with about, she's doing all of her, her accelerating activity in this time frame right here. So if you don't do that, you've had your dinner, you're doing the dishes, we're going to talk about the blue blocker glasses and things like that, overhead lights and all that kind of stuff tonight or today. The crossover starts to happen and your cortisol should be down here. And if it is down here, you are ready for bed by 10 o'clock, maybe even earlier if you have, if this clock skews a little bit like mine did for so many years, you are ready. And then look at melatonin's way up here, and it's unlike cortisol, which really has a peak and it drops. This, for the benefit of our sleep, stays, there's a nice little dome here. It stays really high. And actually the most critical sleep is between 10 and 2. Well, it's all critical, but there are some sleep and health doctors that say if you get your best sleep between 10 and 2, you will have, it will create a better recovery for the morning. I actually say, based on what I learned, that we need all 8 hours. The first 4 between 10 and 2 is our physical repair time. And between 2 and 6 is our psychological, emotional, neurological, hormonal repair time. And I can tell you during the time when I had to actually get up at 4:30 every day, and I was missing an hour and a half of that, I struggle with nerve stuff in my hands so much better since I, first of all, get more sleep, but also sleep later into the morning. So that for me was a critical thing. But if we talk about anybody who's challenged emotionally, whether it's from death, divorce, stress at work, things like that, you need this 2 a.m. to 6 a.m. repair time. And it's not like that whole clock shifts. In other words, if you don't get to bed till 10 or midnight, you literally lose 2 hours of physical repair time. So, and then there's also the organ systems that also, when we sleep, we are repairing our organs, are dumping the toxins in our body, is flushing them out. It's taking care of it, all that stuff while we sleep. That's why it can be one of the most restorative things for your health. So if you miss 2 hours of that cycle, even if you catch it up on the other side, it's, you're into the day, and that's where it starts to skew with your cortisol rising at the right time, melatonin dropping at the right time, if that makes sense. Okay, so that's a perfect scenario. The woman with the coffee, my promotion photo, she's here. This is her. So she might have some elevated cortisol in the morning. Actually, I'm going to say this is maybe not her. She might still have elevated melatonin. and maybe she's not getting up till 9 o'clock in the morning. But either way, this person here in the second graph is actually, this is the person who has repeated cups of coffee or other stimulants, maybe too much iced tea at lunch, the later in the day workout, those kinds of things. Where, as you see here, where the cortisol, if you can see my cursor, should be dropping here at the 6, or crossing over here at 6 p.m. It's not doing it until midnight. This might very well be my email person here, because, and she has enough energy to do these activities. Her body's trained that way, but we can also train it the other way. So as you can see, then she still gets some melatonin rise in her, and her bed is telling her she's sleeping. Sometimes for these people, what it is, well, let me finish my thought here. So you can see her physical repair has been depleted, psychological repair, okay, it's okay. She's getting it in, and she's probably sleeping till 7 or a little later in order to catch up on all of her sleep. But the other thing is, sometimes you have the tired and wired person, and this is where I would, as a health coach, if we try or attempting to dial in the sleep and it's not working out, we might do some testing on hormones to see what the adrenaline, what your adrenal glands are doing. If you are highly stressed and you don't have the off button, your body's still going to make you, you'll be the person who at 10 o'clock, maybe even 9 o'clock, just falls asleep, but they don't stay asleep. And they may then say, okay, to ensure that I stay asleep, I'll take that pill, that sleeping pill. And still yet, you're not addressing the reason why the adrenals are not letting you calm down, because it's going to spill out cortisol. And we're going to talk more in depth about these two hormones and how it affects the other hormones in your body. We're going to do that tomorrow. But I hope this gives you a clear picture of what, the damage that can be starting to happen in the body if we continue on a sleep pattern like this bottom graph, and or why you would wake up feeling like that first woman versus the second woman. Okay, so there's also this critical thing here about our biodrainers, our bio battery. On the left, we have biodrainers. On the right, we have biochargers. Just quickly, on the left side, we've got overwork, over or under exercise. So you could be the person not doing enough movement, and that could affect you the same way. If you have financial stress, processed foods, 4 white devils, which are your processed flour, sugar, salt, and dairy, poor quality water, bad dieting, skipping meals, food allergies that are not addressed, neural stimulant abuse, that would be too much of the caffeine, possibly, family relationship stressors, work relationship stressors, lack of learning stimulus, lack of creative outlook, inability to give or receive love, and then here, the imbalance in your circadian clock is a biodrainer. Okay, so I hope you heard that. Even though you think your mattress is telling you you're sleeping really good, there's a tax on the body for that. And we have this bio battery here that will get drained. And if you're already focusing on this bio battery and seeing, death, of course, we're all going to arrive there, but it's how we arrive there, sooner rather than later, and not because it was, an accident where we had no control, but because we're not well and we're suffering on our way to death. I don't know about you, but that's not how I want to live. So I choose my biochargers, which are a chosen work schedule. Now I've had that most of my career, but it wasn't always the hours. I mean, I made those hours work for me, but I can see how making the change to more falling in line with the harmony of the universe, that it has really taken me next level in feeling better. Outlook wise, mental, emotional, everything. Having an active lifestyle, meditation or prayer in your life, your managed finances, or having goals that you attempt to reach. Eating good quality food, which is organic fruits and vegetables, pastured, grass-fed protein, wild-caught fish. You drink high-quality water. That means not tap water. I know this is not an episode about water, but I could do a full 5-day challenge on water. There's so much to know about that, but please stay away. I mean, filter your tap if that's what you're drinking. Mine is filtered, I'm sorry, is distilled water, and I add back electrolytes to it. If you want to know why, send me a message and I'll tell you why. Maybe on day 5, I can elaborate on that. Eating right for your metabolic type, which we'll touch on a little bit on Thursday when we talk about nutrition and your sleep. Rotating your foods kind of falls in there, and that also can be, it's not, you can do it with a blood test, but you can also determine food allergies. We talk over here about the food allergies not addressed on the biodrainer side. It's a way you could determine food allergies by rotating your foods and keeping it out of your diet long enough so that you can actually know that you have a reaction to it once it's out of your system. Having recreational stimulant use, which means, you know, your coffee, your tea, your those kinds of things that could actually keep you stimulated, but you do it at the right time of the day. Compassionate communication, self-respect, and then also respect for others. Exercising, the right brain, which taps into your creativity. We all need that. You know, find your way. Love of self and others, nervous system balance. That's what I teach in my base camp. The very first thing I work on with my clients, we talked about the rock balance, and that's what that is. And a balance of your circadian clock is a biocharger. Okay, we're going to talk a little bit about the rest of that tomorrow. All right, let's see here. That was that. Okay, doke. Okay, so again, if you have any questions, you can put them in the chat, either on Facebook or here, and I'll address those tomorrow. But let's go down the sleep prep checklist. And maybe one of the comments you want to make is how many items you are on there, or even for the evening routine. Okay. Other thing to mention here is that this actually is a thing I said it yesterday. Keep it with a journal, keep it in a folder, refer back to it. Have these resources available to you when you feel like you get off path and you've kind of forgotten, or maybe you've done a few, but you know, just read over the list and see, and tune into your body and let that tell you what maybe you need to do. Okay, but the first thing here on the list is make sure your room is cool and not warm. So we're approaching summer, and one of the biggest challenges for me in a house, in a 115 or 20-year-old house that is has no air conditioning, is I have to run a window fan. So not only does that, I mean, it helps keep my room cool, but then I have to adjust, and I do adjust to the new white noise of this fan going, and it does let in a little bit of light. But the alternative to being warm would be I'd be up all night, I'd be awake. So the cool thing, well, when we talk about cortisol tomorrow and melatonin tomorrow, cortisol is a very fast-acting hormone. It takes a little light on the skin, not just the eyes, but the skin, heat, and it could be maybe your body still recovering from exercise or digesting food. Those things, it will flip on your cortisol or keep it elevated. So cool, not warm. Make your room as dark as possible. We just mentioned the light. Consider blackout curtains. If you don't have them, do that on your next home remodel. Prepare your room with as few electrical items in it as possible. I have a salt lamp, a table lamp. I do have my overhead ceiling fan that would be going as well. But I took my TV out of my room years ago, and my phone is powered off. Now, if I need it for an alarm, it's in airplane mode because it will work that way. But that's the other thing, is airplane mode. And I also turn off all the Wi-Fi in my house. So if you have a Wi-Fi router in your room, your computers in your room, oh my gosh. Not only does that add heat to your room, but I mentioned yesterday, we are energetic beings and we are absorbing all that electric frequency. Something that, you say, well, I've had it in my room for years. Well, that is very, what do they say? It creeps up on you. It's very insidious, and you don't really know that it's doing damage until it's maybe too late. And not that that's not reversible, but all of a sudden you've developed something because that has just been poking at you just enough for 10 years, maybe 20 years, and now all of a sudden. So always remember that. 2 hours before bedtime, you want to turn off all the overhead lights and you use table lamps instead. That's making the, it could be still a blue light frequency, but it's going to be coming from a different area. So lighting the eyes from a different area. So overhead lights, that could be another thing. This person shared, if she's cooking, doing dinner or that kind of stuff, she's probably got overhead lights on in the kitchen. And, at minimum, we're going to talk about the blue blocker glasses, put those things on. That will help a lot. Next one, consider wearing blue blocking glasses 2 hours before bed. Consider reading a book instead of TV or computer time. And later on, when you get this all dialed in, it may not affect you that as much to watch TV. Consider yoga or stretching routine instead of the TV. A warm Epsom salt bath is nice. Maybe not so much in the summer, but in the winter for sure, with a little organic lavender essential oil. Prayer meditation can calm a racing mind for sure. If it's a racing mind, this person I referenced in the email, hers is more physical. I think she's got a physical body that's too energized. Avoid sugar and alcohol 3 to 5 hours before bed. Replace the glass of wine with herbal tea. That's one of the things I have people tell me all the time. Well, I do drink alcohol at night. I'll drink maybe up until when I go to sleep, but that doesn't affect my sleep. You don't know until you stop doing it, or that's the person who isn't really sleeping soundly, but feels like it's good enough. And that's also very insidious. It will creep up on you. As I just mentioned, the graph, it's real important to stay close to the circadian rhythm of the universe. Otherwise, you are taking away from you're draining your bio battery, in other words. Okay. And if getting hot is a challenge, I have not used one of these, but a cooling mat. I don't even have, I could do a little research if someone really wants to know, because I have in my holistic health community, I know people who are using those things, so I could look if you want to know. Consider a grounding mat, and that could be even during the day if you don't have the opportunity to get outside. I have one for the mattress, and I use it, and not all the time. I'll put it on when things, maybe if I have to really dial back and I really want to kind of get grounded again, I'll do that. If you are restless at night, and this is going to get into nutrition, and I'll address that more on Thursday, and you type out as a protein type, it might be beneficial to have a little bit of protein, actually animal protein, before you go to bed. And that'll keep your blood sugar level, if that's an issue for you, because you're going, 8 hours without food. But I fast, like I'm on a fast now. It's probably going to end up being about 17 hours. I think I ate yesterday at 2:30 maybe. And I haven't eaten anything since. I've just had water this morning. So fasting for me works really, really well for improving my sleep. If you're told you snore, consider mouth taping. And finally, and do as our mother told us, move your bedtime and optimize your sleep time when you're recovering from an illness. That's always important. And probably maybe your body's already telling you to do that. You're sleeping more. And finally, in bed by 10, no later than 10:30, up around 6, to ensure our repair cycles are complete, and that you're also addressing the hormones and letting them rise and fall as they should. Okay, the evening routine for better sleep. We already went over the rock balance, but that's on this evening routine as well. You can review that if you want, but it's all about balancing. Sleep is one of those rocks. And if you remove a rock, you're off balance. So it could mean you're not going to consume enough water for the day. You're just off mentally. Your focus is off. You're not making good food choices. It affects the other 5 principles. So we talked about it on the sleep prep checklist, but making your room in dark as cool as possible. And I also just mentioned too that cortisol is a fast acting hormone, and 2 things that get it rolling are heat and light. So an eye mask could be great. And I've done a whole series on my road tripping where I do travel with an eye mask because I don't always have control of light in the room and I can't make it dark enough. So at least if my eyes are covered, it helps a little. But still, if you are, and my sleep is pretty dialed in, but if you're recovering and trying to get it dialed in and light hits the skin, you're going to be more sensitive until you get a little more adapted. And maybe you'll always be more sensitive. Who knows? Our bodies are all different. So, yeah, and I mentioned the cooling mat in this one as well. But those electronics, that's number 2 here, reducing electrical or electronic items in your sleep space, getting them out of the room, most optimal, but all those things I just mentioned, the Wi-Fi router, TV, things like that. Maybe if you have nowhere to put it, well, you can power off the router for sure, but look into a different location and power it off at night. And now I live alone, so I have nobody who's looking to have that that Wi-Fi, when I'm ready to have it off. So, but if you have, that could be a problem. I realize in some houses when you're sharing space and you don't, and that other person wants to have that on. In addition, if you do it early enough, like during the time when you're putting on the glasses and all that stuff, that could also help drop your cortisol a little faster. And all those items add heat to your room. Number 3, use table lamps instead of overhead lighting about 2 hours before bed. Again, it's where the light hits on the eyes. In evolutionary times, cavemen and all that, their light was ground fire, was fire at night. It came from the ground, and it was also orange in color. So you have to consider in the evolution of humans what our bodies our subtle bodies are used to, and how we function that way. So keep that in mind. The table lamps. Love this little, oh no, sorry, he's coming up. Avoid screen time. I just went into that, and wear blue blocker glasses. So I'm going to do this right now since we're on the subject. First of all, in your email, you're going to have a link for some, they won't look like these exactly, but some cheapy little plastic blue blocker glasses. I wear corrective lens for distance, and these I actually have a prescription in, so I can't read with those, but if I'm going to read, I just put these on with a table lamp. Viva Ray is this company that I'm an affiliate for, and there'll be a link for these glasses, but they have the technology they have. So these are for distance, and right now you guys are all blurry, but these are daytime lenses. The yellow blocks out enough of the blue light, leaves enough. You actually, if you go to their website, when I give you the link, look and watch Rowdy Anasif's video. He's the founder of the company. And watch and he'll explain about the spectrums of light. What's cool about these is they're a magnetic front. So when you're ready to put on the evening lens, you put on the evening lens. I pretty much just dial in with this, but if I need to really, dial back and get ready for sleep, I wear the red lens. And let me tell you, it blocks out all the blue. And I've had clients wear blue blockers, even the cheapies, which are not the right spectrum of orange, but they still are giving you, when you see orange, it actually activates melatonin, and shuts down the cortisol. But this is a person who was having that really sluggish, a healthy lifestyle. Otherwise, I was her exercise coach, but I got her to wear those things, and she says, "Oh my God, I start to get drowsy and sleepy sooner by wearing those." And so, that's probably what you'll notice first. I don't so much anymore. I've done it for so many years, but I kind of notice when I don't have them on, I think in my head, "Oh gosh, I'm going to stay a little too stimulated. I better go put these guys on or something." So the blue blockers are really critical. And then I added on your evening routine, at this time when you're dimming your lights, you're putting on your glasses, maybe you're taking a warm bath, that you could also put on some nice music and diffuse, and that creates an environment that prepares you for sleep. Diffusing some lavender essential oil would be wonderful. So number 5, we have this cute little pug right in the fridge at night. Now here's intermittent fasting can be very beneficial for a lot of people, but I only address that after we've addressed all the foundation health principles and got, their nutrition dialed in. Because if someone has issues with blood sugar, again, that's 100% lifestyle correctable. But we need to work on all these things and support the body first before I would say, let's attempt some intermittent fasting. And why intermittent fasting is good is it extends, so extending the time where you don't have food allows, especially during sleep hours. That's why I like to eat my last meal in the afternoon and be fully fasting when I go to bed, ready for breakfast in the morning, because I love breakfast and I love a big lunch. So that's a perfect routine for me. And there's days when I can't do that. When I travel, it's harder to get that afternoon, because if I get to my location at 3 or 4 and unpack and I'm cooking my meal, it's, I'm eating at 5 o'clock. So there's changes to that for sure. But intermittent fasting just allows the body to a greater die-off of cells, so there's better cell regeneration, which improves health. There's so many benefits to it. But again, this is not about intermittent fasting, but that can improve someone's sleep tremendously. Now, that's where I would not change anything for this person, even though they're eating at 10 o'clock at night, because it doesn't appear as keeping her awake. She would have, if she had a lot of restless tossing and turning and the mattress was telling her that, I would recommend the no food thing first, just making sure it's an evening meal, as long as I knew that everything else was okay, like her blood sugar and all that stuff. So anyhow, try to at least have, 2 is okay, but 3 is better, hours before bed, that is your last meal. And just see if that makes a difference. And number 6 is meditate, stretch, or explore a chakra balancing routine. I love doing the chakra balancing at night. And I think I explained maybe yesterday that, if I didn't, I'm telling you now that an evening routine for me was more of a game changer than a morning routine. And part of that was because I had a schedule that didn't allow me to do a lot of stuff in the morning. I had it where I could wind down at night. It was perfect. So you'll find what works for you and go with that. So one other thing I'm going to mention is the mouth taping. The last 2 nights I mouth taped. I backpacked over the weekend and came home. Didn't get home till about 5. I had to unpack, do a few things, get ready for my first session. I was in bed on time, but I know I was doing more things prior to bed, so I mouth taped. Now, my DNA tells me I have the suboptimal gene for sleep, and I can't get too deep into that, but just to know that explains a lot of things and why possibly the mouth tape works for me. I think I've been told I snore, not loudly, but I know I've woken up when I've with my mouth open. So if that happens, or you know you're a mouth breather, you've even been told you have sleep apnea, you can try mouth tape first. It's a surgical tape, and you put it across your mouth vertically like this. You can leave your mouth open just ever so slightly so that you can still breathe through your mouth, but you're mostly breathing through your nose. I can tell you that Sunday night into Monday, yesterday, my Oura Ring tracked 3 hours of deep sleep, which, by the way, rarely do people get close to that if they're, well, they don't, if they're not dialed in. And when I have disturbed sleep because of the environment I'm in, that when I'm traveling, that never happens. And last night it was 2 hours and 50 minutes, but I got to bed much later, like 11, a little after 11. What I find is even when my sleep is shorter, my body, I've trained it so well that with all these things that it falls into deep sleep. And that's where we really repair and restore. REM sleep is good too. That's when you dream. And my REM can be balanced, never ever as high as my deep sleep. But I don't feel like that has been my restorative sleep. It's important. And then there's light sleep in there too. There's a lot of light sleep I get. Light sleep is also restorative, but deep sleep is the most restorative. So I can tell you mouth taping for me really, really helps. So I think that's it for day 2. And tomorrow we're going to talk about what does sleep have to do with weight loss. And I think if I were to, and you're going to have links for all this stuff in your replay email. If I were to have posted, lose 5 pounds by sleeping, I would have had 100 people signed up on this, on this class. People really they dial into the weight loss stuff. I get it. And there is a factor, and that's why we're going to start addressing and talking about the 2 hormones, cortisol and melatonin, because that's a big factor there. All right. So I'll see you tomorrow morning, bright and early. Our sessions are going about 40 minutes. I apologize for that. I had promised 30, but I hope you enjoy this content and that you're getting a lot out of it. And again, send me your questions through the email. You can just reply directly to the replay email, or if you're watching it on Facebook, you can put comments and questions in the comment section. All right. Have a wonderful day. Bye.